The hospital desk had a rhythm that never changed. Pens returned to their cups, charts slid forward, names were spoken softly, sometimes twice. By 18 years in, I could feel the day by the weight of the clipboard in my hand, by whether the air smelled more like disinfectant or burnt coffee. I was logging a discharge when I heard my name spoken the way it used to be, flattened, careless, like it didn't need permission to exist in my space. I didn't look up right away. That's a skill you learn when you've spent years being the person who stays. You learn not to give every sound the dignity of attention. "Still working a desk?" he said. The voice was older, rougher around the edges, but the confidence in it was unchanged, the kind that assumes an audience. I raised my eyes then. He stood on the other side of the counter, visitor badge crooked, hands in his pockets like he'd wandered in by accident. My ex-husband had always looked most comfortable where he didn't belong. Time had been kinder to him than I expected, or maybe he just hadn't carried as much. His hair was thinner. His mouth had the same practiced curve, half smile, half dismissal. "Well," he said, glancing at the desk, the forms, the computer. "Guess someone had to lower expectations." I felt the old reflex rise, the urge to explain, to contextualize, to make my life make sense to him in language he would accept. I let it pass. Behind him, a transport aide pushed a bed down the hall, wheels humming. A monitor beeped somewhere with a tired insistence. Life continued at its normal volume. He leaned closer, lowering his voice as if we were sharing something. "So," he said, eyes flicking over my face, "where's your broken son? Is he even still alive?" The words didn't arrive as a blow. They arrived like something already known, finally spoken aloud, like a diagnosis you've suspected long before it's confirmed. For a moment, I saw the other room, the one with the pediatric neurologist and the plastic model of a brain on the desk. I remembered how my husband had stared at that model instead of at our son, as if the problem were abstract, fixable if he didn't engage too closely. I remembered him saying later that he wasn't built for this, as if love were a body type. The memory receded. The desk was still cool beneath my palms. "He's fine," I said, because it was true, and because I didn't owe him the shape of that truth. He laughed once, short and incredulous. "Sure he is." I didn't correct him. Correction would have required investment. Silence stretched. He waited for something. Anger, explanation, proof. When none came, his smile thinned. "You know," he added, almost thoughtfully, "I used to wonder how long you'd last." I wondered that too once, in the early years when sleep came in fragments and every form felt like a test I could fail, when mom became less a name and more a job description that followed me into every room. What I hadn't known then was that staying changes you. Not dramatically, not all at once. It layers you. It teaches you where to place your weight so you don't fall. I reached for the next chart, signaling the end of the exchange. He hadn't finished. "That kid," he said, "he ruined everything." The sentence landed, naked and final. It wasn't cruel because it was loud. It was cruel because it was simple. I looked up at him again. For the first time, I felt something like pity. Not generous, not redemptive, just factual. Before I could speak, or choose not to, footsteps approached from the hall to my left, familiar footsteps, unhurried. Dr. Alvarez stopped beside the desk, adjusting the sleeve of his white coat. He looked between us, reading the room the way good physicians do, quickly, accurately, without dramatics. "Everything okay, Mom?" he asked. The word was casual, habitual, the way he'd said it 1,000 times before when passing my station, the way the nurses said it, the way the residents said it once they'd been here long enough to know better than to ask questions whose answers were obvious. "Everything okay, Mom?" My ex-husband's face shifted, not dramatically, but unmistakably. His eyes moved from Dr. Alvarez's badge to his coat to the way he stood, grounded, as if the floor belonged to him. "Yes," I said. All good. Dr. Alvarez nodded, already halfway turned toward the hall. Good, we're ready for the consult in 5. I'll bring the file, I said. He moved on. The world resumed its pace without acknowledging the moment it had just swallowed. My ex-husband stood there a beat longer. The counter between us felt wider now, sturdier. Mom, he repeated, testing the word. It didn't fit in his mouth. I watched him understand, piece by piece, that I wasn't stationed here out of lack, that this place knew me, that my presence was not incidental. He opened his mouth, then closed it. Whatever he had planned to say no longer had a place to land. Finally, he straightened. Well, he said, the word doing too much work. Good for you. It wasn't sincere. It didn't need to be. He turned and walked away, his badge flashing as he passed through the security gate. The gate clicked behind him, indifferent. I exhaled, slowly, not in relief, in recalibration. The chart in front of me needed a signature. I signed it. A woman stepped forward with a